Today we delve into a heartbreaking tale of betrayal and its grim aftermath. This is the story of Jared Mitchell, a man who, after leaving his wife upon her terminal cancer diagnosis, met a tragic end soon after. His life and death exposed the harsh realities and dark consequences of infidelity. Jared Mitchell, 52, was a prominent executive in Greensboro, North Carolina. Known for his charm and business acumen, Jared had ascended the corporate ranks, enjoying the benefits of his lucrative career. Jared was frequently spotted in stylish suits and driving his luxury car. He enjoyed socializing at high-profile events and parties. Despite his polished exterior, those close to him were aware of his darker side. Jared was narcissistic and had a history of infidelity. His wife, Amanda Mitchell, was a 50-year-old former high school chemistry teacher known for her kindness and dedication to her students. Amanda had a deep passion for science and enjoyed sharing her knowledge with her students. She was well regarded by her colleagues and loved by her students. Despite being married to Jared for over 20 years and weathering many challenges together, their relationship was strained by his repeated infidelities. Amanda, known for her resilience and positive attitude, was hit with a devastating blow in September 2018 when she was diagnosed with terminal esophageal cancer. Despite the grim news, she made every effort to remain strong and hopeful. Despite her efforts to maintain a semblance of normalcy and spend time with loved ones, Amanda's life took a painful turn when Jared, who had been secretly involved with a much younger woman named Jenna Parker-Breen, asked for a divorce shortly after her diagnosis. Jenna Parker-Breen, an aspiring influencer who frequently posted on Instagram and YouTube about her pursuit of a luxurious lifestyle and wealthy older men, was the woman Jared had been seeing. Amanda was devastated by Jared's betrayal and the timing of his request for a divorce. Hart, a close friend and colleague of Amanda, stood by her side during this challenging time. Ryan had always been supportive and compassionate, offering Amanda comfort and strength as she faced her illness and the betrayal from Jared. In the days before his death, Jared was frequently spotted around Greensboro, enjoying his new life with Jenna. He was seen dining at high-end restaurants and shopping at upscale stores such as Nordstrom and Macy's. His public displays of wealth and newfound happiness contrasted sharply with the turmoil he had caused in Amanda's life. Despite Jared's outward appearance of happiness, trouble was brewing behind the scenes. In early September 2018, his life took a tragic turn when his lifeless body was found in his Greensboro home. The shocking discovery marked the beginning of a dark investigation into his sudden and untimely death. Around 10:30 p.m., Hart, a close friend and colleague of Amanda Mitchell, arrived at Jared's home. Amanda, concerned about Jared's well-being, had asked Brian to check on him. As someone who had been a steadfast support for Amanda, Brian agreed to help. When Brian arrived at Jared's house, he noticed the lights were on. After several unanswered knocks, he grew worried and decided to use the spare key Amanda had given him. As he opened the door, an unsettling silence greeted him. The house was tidy and everything was in order, but there was an unusual stillness. Brian called out Jared's name, but there was no reply. Brian walked into the living room and saw Jared slouched in his favorite armchair, a glass of whiskey on the table beside him. At first, it appeared Jared might have simply fallen asleep, but as Brian approached, he noticed Jared's pale skin and motionless body. Something was clearly wrong. Brian's panic grew as he checked for a pulse and found none. His hands were trembling as he dialed 911. The dispatcher instructed him on how to perform CPR, but it was evident that Jared was beyond help. Brian stood in shock, struggling to process the scene. Despite his disdain for Jared due to how he had treated Amanda, he had never anticipated such a grim outcome. The first responders arrived swiftly, taking over the scene and beginning their investigation. The EMTs confirmed Jared's death and notified the police. Neighbors gathered outside, murmuring about the shocking turn of events. News of the mysterious death quickly spread through the community, and local media outlets, including WFMY News 2, began reporting on the case. In Greensboro, the news of Jared's sudden death sparked widespread speculation. The police faced a challenging investigation as they examined the contrast between the orderly crime scene and the shocking nature of Jared's death. The community was left questioning who could have had a motive and what drove them to commit such an act. When the police arrived at Jared Mitchell's home in September 2018, Detective Lisa Harper took charge. Renowned for her sharp investigative skills, she immediately began examining the scene. The house was calm and orderly, with no visible signs of a struggle. The living room, where Jared was found, appeared ordinary at first. He was slumped in his favorite armchair, a glass of whiskey resting on the table beside him. The scene appeared tranquil, but Detective Harper was cautious. She directed her team to collect evidence and photograph the surroundings. Toxicology tests on the whiskey revealed that Jared had been poisoned with rat poison. The revelation that Jared had been poisoned through his whiskey marked a significant shift in the investigation. Detective Harper and her team zeroed in on every detail, searching for clues that could lead them to the perpetrator. Detective Harper's team meticulously examined the crime scene. They dusted for fingerprints on the glass and other surfaces, collected samples from the whiskey bottle, and looked for signs of tampering. The choice of poison mixed into Jared's favorite drink indicated that the killer was familiar with his habits. Detective Harper interviewed neighbors and acquaintances who had seen Jared recently. They noted his frequent visits to local spots like Green Valley Grill and Friendly Center. Many also mentioned seeing him with his new girlfriend, Jenna Parker-Breen, who was notably younger and quite active on social media. The police investigated Jared's recent divorce from Amanda Mitchell, recognizing that personal conflicts could be a motive. Although Amanda, a former chemistry teacher, had the knowledge to execute the crime, her terminal illness and emotional state made her seem like an unlikely suspect at first. As the investigation progressed, the police uncovered that Jared's numerous affairs had created a long list of potential adversaries. His new relationship with Jenna, the abrupt divorce from Amanda, and his overall lifestyle suggested that he had many secrets and possible enemies. To unravel the truth, the police employed advanced forensic tests and conducted thorough interviews. The detectives meticulously traced Jared's last days, scrutinizing everyone who had the opportunity and motive to poison him. With Detective Harper at the helm, the investigation was thorough and relentless. Local media, including Fox 8, closely followed the unfolding story. In Greensboro, residents eagerly awaited answers, speculating about the identity of the murderer. As the investigation progressed, the detectives began to piece together the clues, focusing their attention on Amanda Mitchell, Jared's ex-wife, as their primary suspect. Amanda Mitchell, 50, was a former high school chemistry teacher admired for her kindness and dedication. Despite her recent terminal esophageal cancer diagnosis, she remained a beloved figure in her community. Despite her illness, Amanda stayed resilient. After being forced out of the home she shared with Jared, she settled in a modest house near her former school in Greensboro. The divorce, coming so soon after her diagnosis, left her heartbroken and devastated. Amanda and Jared had been married for over 20 years. Despite his infidelities, she had always stood by him. Jared's decision to leave her for Jenna Parker-Breen, especially after her terminal diagnosis, was a deep betrayal. Those close to Amanda described her as heartbroken but determined to make the most of her remaining time. When the police questioned Amanda, she remained calm and cooperative, though her voice was hoarse from her illness. Detective Lisa Harper, leading the investigation, observed Amanda's composed demeanor. Amanda explained that she had been at home resting on the night of Jared's death, as her illness required her to take it easy. Amanda expressed deep sorrow over Jared's death, despite their recent separation. Although her motive for murder might have seemed apparent due to her anger and heartbreak from Jared's betrayal, she appeared genuinely grieving his loss. Despite her illness, which seemed to undermine the possibility of her carrying out the murder, Amanda's background in chemistry made her a potential suspect. Detective Harper and her team meticulously examined Amanda's life and circumstances to understand her possible involvement. Interviews with Amanda's friends, neighbors, and colleagues painted a picture of her as a loving and devoted individual, committed to her family and students. Despite her recent heartbreak, those who knew her struggled to believe she could be involved in such a crime. The police thoroughly examined Amanda's medical records, confirming her terminal diagnosis and supporting her claim of being physically unable to commit the crime. Despite this, they considered the possibility that Amanda might have orchestrated Jared's murder by enlisting someone else to carry out the act. The community was deeply affected by the unfolding events, with many feeling sympathy for Amanda's suffering and speculating about whether her desperation could have driven her to murder. Detective Harper kept Amanda as a suspect but understood that more evidence was needed to either exonerate her or confirm her involvement. The investigation remained open as the detectives sought to uncover the truth. Jenna Parker-Breen, a 24-year-old aspiring influencer, was the second suspect in Jared Mitchell's murder. Known for her social media presence and glamorous lifestyle, Jenna had quickly become a prominent figure in Jared's life. Jenna Parker-Breen, a 24-year-old aspiring influencer with a significant social media following, was known for her fashion and beauty tips, as well as her posts about dating wealthy older men. Having recently moved to Greensboro to be with Jared Mitchell, her high-profile relationship with him made them the center of local gossip. Jenna and Jared first crossed paths at a charity event in August 2018. Jared was captivated by her charm and appearance, and their relationship quickly blossomed. Jenna viewed Jared as a gateway to a more glamorous lifestyle and was eager to leave her previous life behind for the opulence he promised. When the police interviewed Jenna, she appeared anxious and defensive. She maintained that she had no motive to harm Jared, emphasizing that they were excitedly planning their future together. Detective Lisa Harper, observing Jenna's agitation, decided to investigate further into her background. The police discovered Jenna's pattern of dating wealthy older men, evident from her social media posts showcasing lavish dinners at places like Printworks Bistro and shopping trips at Friendly Center. Jenna frequently emphasized the importance of financial security in her social media posts and had a substantial following of young women who admired her lifestyle. Her potential motive for murder was financial gain, as Jared's significant life insurance policy meant Jenna stood to receive a large sum of money from his sudden death. The police investigated Jenna's recent activities, including her whereabouts on the night of Jared's death. They found inconsistencies in her statements, and surveillance footage showed her leaving Jared's house earlier in the evening, which contradicted her claims of staying with him. This raised further suspicions about her involvement in the murder. Jenna's friends and followers were puzzled by the investigation. They mentioned Jenna's frequent discussions about relocating to a larger city, which suggested she was planning for a future beyond Greensboro. This potential motive, coupled with inconsistencies in her alibi, made her a key suspect. Many in her social media community were shocked, finding it hard to reconcile her glamorous public persona with the possibility of her involvement in Jared's murder. Jenna's once glamorous image began to tarnish as the investigation cast doubt on her motives. Despite her insistence on innocence, the police were wary of the financial gain she stood to inherit from Jared's death. Detective Harper understood that solid evidence was essential to either exonerate Jenna or confirm her involvement. The search for concrete proof continued, with every detail scrutinized to uncover the truth behind Jared Mitchell's murder. Brian Hart was a 35-year-old high school chemistry teacher who had been a close friend and colleague of Amanda Mitchell. Known for his supportive nature, Brian had been a constant presence in Amanda's life, especially during her illness. He had stepped in to check on Jared on the night of his death, following Amanda's request. This involvement, along with his close relationship with Amanda, made him a person of interest in the investigation. Brian Hart was a compassionate and supportive friend, especially during Amanda's illness. He frequently assisted Amanda with daily tasks and had openly criticized Jared for his behavior. Brian and Amanda had worked together for years, fostering a close friendship. This connection, combined with Brian's vocal disapproval of Jared, raised suspicion about his potential involvement in the crime. When Amanda was diagnosed with terminal esophageal cancer, Brian Hart provided her with crucial emotional and practical support. Known for his kindness and willingness to help, Brian was a pillar of strength for Amanda during her difficult time. His outspoken criticism of Jared's actions, however, led the police to question whether his strong feelings might have influenced his behavior in ways that could make him a suspect in Jared's murder. During his interrogation, Brian Hart remained calm and cooperative, explaining that he had been at home grading papers the night Jared was murdered. Detective Lisa Harper, while noting Brian's composed demeanor, decided to investigate further into his relationship with both Amanda and Jared. The police uncovered a troubling revelation: Jared had hired Brian to spy on Amanda and embezzle her remaining funds after their divorce. This discovery painted Brian in a new light. Despite his outward support for Amanda, his involvement in these deceitful actions suggested a more complex motive for his potential involvement in Jared's murder. Brian's financial troubles and potential motive were scrutinized by Detective Harper and her team. They discovered significant debt in his records, which, coupled with his loyalty to Amanda, made him a strong suspect. Brian's financial stress and his complex relationship with both Jared and Amanda raised serious questions about his potential involvement in the crime. The police investigated Brian's background, focusing on his access to chemicals as a chemistry teacher. They questioned his colleagues and neighbors to gather more information. This thorough examination aimed to determine if Brian had the knowledge and means to poison Jared, adding another layer of complexity to the investigation. The community was stunned by the possibility that someone so close to Amanda could be involved in Jared's murder. While many described Brian as a dedicated teacher and a supportive friend, others noted his increasing frustration over financial troubles. This frustration, combined with his connection to Amanda, raised concerns about his potential motive. Doubts grew among the community about Brian's true motives, with some wondering if his support for Amanda had been part of a hidden agenda. Despite his composed demeanor, Detective Harper knew that more evidence was needed to definitively link Brian to the crime or exonerate him. The investigation continued, with the police meticulously gathering evidence to uncover the truth. The investigation persisted, with the police examining every facet of Brian's life and his relationships with Amanda and Jared. Their goal was to uncover the truth behind Jared Mitchell's murder and determine who was responsible for the crime. On September 15, 2018, a week after Jared Mitchell's death, new evidence surfaced that shifted the investigation. On that sunny afternoon around 2 p.m., Detective Lisa Harper received a call from a local resident who lived in Jared's neighborhood and frequently walked her dog in the area. The resident had found a small, empty, unlabeled bottle in the bushes near Jenna Parker-Breen's apartment complex. Detective Harper immediately recognized the potential significance of this discovery. The bottle was carefully bagged and sent to the lab for analysis. The police hoped to find fingerprints or any other trace that could link the bottle to the killer. The results came back swiftly, revealing that the bottle had contained rat poison, matching the poison used in Jared Mitchell's murder. Fingerprints on the bottle matched those of Amanda Mitchell, Jared's ex-wife. This revelation was startling, given her previous perceived weakness due to her illness. Detective Harper and her team re-examined Amanda's alibi and movements on the night of the murder, scrutinizing every detail to understand how her fingerprints ended up on the bottle. The police also reviewed surveillance footage from around Jenna's apartment complex and discovered Amanda visiting the area a few days before Jared's death. This raised more questions about Amanda's potential involvement and whether she might have attempted to frame Jenna for the crime. Local news stations quickly reported the new developments, causing a flurry of speculation and theories throughout the community. Many residents were stunned to think that Amanda, who had been seen as kind and loving, could be implicated in such a serious crime. When Detective Harper confronted Amanda with the new evidence, Amanda's demeanor shifted noticeably. The weight of the fingerprints on the bottle and her recent visit to Jenna's complex seemed to unnerve her. Amanda explained that she had indeed visited Jenna's apartment complex, but her intent was to confront Jenna about her relationship with Jared and to express her feelings of betrayal. She denied any involvement in planting evidence or being connected to the poison. Despite her claims, the inconsistencies in her story and the presence of her fingerprints on the poison bottle continued to cast doubt. Amanda's extensive research on poisons and her chemistry background raised further suspicions. Detective Harper theorized that Amanda, feeling betrayed and angry, might have planned the murder to frame Jenna. The investigation was turning increasingly complex as the evidence pointed to a carefully orchestrated plot. With Amanda back in focus as the primary suspect, the police intensified their efforts. They collected additional evidence and meticulously built their case, using the discovery of the rat poison bottle as a pivotal piece. The investigation now aimed at confirming Amanda's involvement and ensuring that Jared Mitchell's murderer would face justice. On September 20, 2018, after a thorough investigation and accumulating evidence, the police took decisive action. Detective Lisa Harper and her team identified Amanda Mitchell as the primary suspect in Jared Mitchell's murder. The evidence included her fingerprints on the rat poison bottle and her visit to Jenna Parker-Breen's apartment complex shortly before Jared's death. Amanda was at a Greensboro hospital, struggling with the final stages of terminal esophageal cancer. Despite her serious condition, the police needed to proceed with her arrest. Detective Harper and her team arrived at the hospital around 11 a.m., armed with a warrant for Amanda's arrest for Jared's murder. Amanda was lying in a hospital bed, surrounded by medical equipment, her condition clearly critical. Her family was nearby, visibly distressed. When the police entered the room, Amanda's face reflected a blend of shock and resignation as she realized the gravity of the situation. Detective Harper gently informed Amanda of her arrest and the charges against her. Despite her frail condition, Amanda did not resist. She seemed to accept the situation with a resigned understanding of the seriousness of the charges against her. As the police read Amanda her rights, her family members were visibly distraught. They had been her support system through her illness and were heartbroken to learn of the charges. Amanda's calm demeanor gave way to visible signs of defeat and sadness. Despite her illness, Amanda was taken into custody and arrangements were made for her transport to the local jail for booking. The news of her arrest spread rapidly, with local media broadcasting live footage of the police arriving at the hospital and Amanda being wheeled out in a wheelchair. The community was stunned to see Amanda, once perceived as a victim of betrayal, now facing serious charges. Her arrest marked a pivotal moment in the investigation. Authorities believed Amanda had meticulously planned Jared's murder, driven by anger and a desire for revenge. Amanda's background in chemistry and recent actions pointed strongly to her involvement in the crime. Her arrest marked a significant turning point in the case. With Amanda in custody, attention now turned to the legal process and the upcoming trial, where the evidence would be presented to determine her guilt or innocence. The community, still grappling with the shocking developments, awaited the next steps in the case with intense interest. Amanda Mitchell's trial for the murder of Jared Mitchell began in early October 2018, just weeks after her arrest. The proceedings took place at the Guilford County Courthouse in Greensboro, North Carolina. The courtroom was filled with media eager to cover the high-profile case. Assistant District Attorney Hannah Foster, leading the prosecution, argued that Amanda had meticulously planned Jared's murder driven by anger and a desire for revenge. Foster presented key evidence, including Amanda's fingerprints on the rat poison bottle and her visits to Jenna Parker-Breen's apartment complex. Hannah Foster emphasized Amanda's background in chemistry, which gave her knowledge about poisons, and pointed to her deep sense of betrayal and hurt as the motive for the crime. Foster's presentation portrayed Amanda as the orchestrator of the murder. In contrast, Amanda's lawyer, Robert Kane Clark, contended that her severe illness rendered her too frail to carry out the crime. Kane Clark proposed that someone else, such as Jenna or Brian Hart, might have been behind the crime. He argued that Amanda's worsening health made it unlikely she could have planned and carried out the murder. Despite his efforts to undermine the prosecution's evidence, his arguments had little impact on the jury. The trial was a deeply emotional experience for all involved. Jared's family, including his children and close relatives, were present every day, visibly affected by the proceedings. They sought justice for Jared and hoped the trial would provide them with some measure of closure. Tragically, just 3 days before the verdict was set to be announced, Amanda Mitchell passed away in the hospital from her terminal cancer. Her death marked a somber conclusion to an already complex and painful case. Despite her passing, the court chose to proceed with a posthumous verdict. The judge declared Amanda guilty of Jared's murder based on the substantial evidence presented throughout the trial. The verdict was delivered on October 12, 2018, and received extensive media coverage. The community's reactions were mixed, with some feeling justice was served while others remained conflicted. Some believed the posthumous conviction was crucial for achieving justice for Jared, while others struggled with the idea of convicting someone who had already passed away. Although Amanda's death did not provide the closure many had hoped for, it marked the end of a painful chapter for Jared's family. They could begin to heal, knowing that the legal system had addressed the crime. The case had a profound effect on the Greensboro community, showcasing the intricate nature of justice and the deep emotions tied to such a tragic story. After Amanda Mitchell's death and her posthumous conviction for Jared's murder, the lives of those involved were forever changed. Jenna Parker-Breen, who had been a suspect, began to regain a sense of normalcy as the focus shifted away from her. The trial significantly impacted Jenna Parker-Breen's reputation, drawing intense scrutiny from the public and her followers. To escape the media spotlight, Jenna decided to step away from her influencer career. She relocated to a new city, aiming for a fresh start and to rebuild her life away from the overwhelming attention that had surrounded her during the trial. Brian Hart was exonerated once Amanda was convicted, but the ordeal left its mark on him. The intense scrutiny and the exposure of his role in spying on Amanda took a toll on both his professional and personal life. Although he was cleared of the crime, the fallout from the case led to significant challenges and adjustments in his life. Detective Lisa Harper, who had overseen the investigation, was deeply affected by the case. She acknowledged the complexities and emotional weight of the investigation, recognizing how it exposed various facets of human behavior and justice. While she was relieved to have brought clarity to the case, the experience highlighted the often complicated nature of seeking truth and ensuring fairness in the face of intense personal and public scrutiny. Detective Lisa Harper and her team were commended for their meticulous work and commitment throughout the investigation. While they were praised for their dedication, the case underscored the difficulties inherent in handling high-profile cases. The community appreciated their efforts, and local media frequently interviewed Detective Harper, exploring both the challenges and successes encountered during the investigation. In Greensboro, the case continued to resonate within the community, reflecting the profound personal impacts of crime and the legal system's role in pursuing justice. While the city endeavored to move forward, the story of Jared and Amanda Mitchell remained a significant chapter in local history, remembered for its emotional complexity and the important lessons it conveyed. This case starkly illustrates how betrayal and desperation can drive individuals to commit unimaginable acts. Jared Mitchell's story is a tragic exploration of love, betrayal, and revenge, revealing the darker aspects of human emotion. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Truthsful Crime. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we delve deeper into the complex and often harrowing world of true crime.